What's up, YouTube? Eugene here. Hope you're all well. January 24th, launching the Cendres, so stay tuned. Just a few days away. I'm going to give out, a lot of people are asking for notes, cards, pyramids, whatever it is that they want to know, inspiration. And I'm going to share a lot of that today. I'm not going to give out the notes quite yet. I'm going to hold off. There's time for one more video. There's a lot. I've got a lot to say about these perfumes. The inspirations, they're not so simple. They're not as cut and dry. They're not as black and white because the inspirations to these three perfumes didn't come in a single moment. They weren't captured in a day or a picture. You know, it's not like I was out at sea watching a fisherman in a sailboat during sunset. It wasn't anything like that. All of these happened during the course of months and months and months, perhaps years, and even still, I feel like I'm living through this. So they're complicated, they're complex, they're deep. The inspirations for me as I was living through these experiences, I started to create mental images of what they would translate to in a perfume. That's just what I do. I think all my time, all my years of wearing and enjoying fragrance, and my channel has always really been about how a perfume makes me feel. What emotions does it bring up? So even outside of perfume, when I'm not wearing perfume, it's because perfume taught me to go into emotions. When I was dealing with something personal, I had the tools to actually go into these emotions and figure out what the hell was going on. So when I went through that breakup, the La Douleur Exquise, the broken heart, it was just like this unbelievable pain, this physical pain of my heart being tormented, like just really being squished and broken in so many pieces. I could feel it like almost like a wound, like any other wound that's just throbbing, you know. And it was very literal, and it had completely broken me. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would be where I am today. So I am grateful for that very painful experience. So yeah, so as I was going through these experiences and feeling, going into that, not distracting, not going out to bars and clubs trying to pick up other chicks or get wasted or smashed or drive fast cars and just do what dudes do. You know what? You know how dudes, like, we get in such a way where we want to avoid pain, we want to experience pleasure, and we'll do anything not to feel hurt. And I've done that before many times. This time I wanted to do something different, and it's worked for me. So because of my history with perfume, because of my experience with perfume, I was able to go into the emotions a lot deeper than I normally would have. So it's been, for me, it's been nothing but a joy. So yeah, I had envisioned a lot of these. I had almost painted a picture of what the perfumes would smell like. Obviously, you know, working with Antoine, a master who is an artist himself, he's added his own touch to each fragrance, his own signature. Like, he came up with the idea to add the castoreum in La Douleur Exquise, and in Belle, which was a healing perfume, something that's very angelic. I think it's his most avant-garde perfume ever. It literally smells like angels and holy spirits and stuff. I said iris because I was healing and I'd come home from work, and I didn't even go to work for a long time. I was off for a good while, just relaxing and taking care of myself and going into this. And I would chill out in my bed with massive pillows and duvets and just comforting myself, you know, and I wanted something cozy and warm and contemplative. And I said iris, and he's like cacao, almost like drinking hot chocolate in bed, taking care of yourself, right? So there's that. And with Descendre to me came while I was spending a lot of time in the forest. I would go out, I would feed the ducks. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to separate from society, from social constructs, from social media, from politics, from division, from separation, from anything that keeps you in a fear state. Really wanted to let all of that go and just be alone with myself, not even with my own thoughts. For a long time, I was separating from my thoughts and just being in that forest consciously, admiring the beauty of the river, the flowing water, the birds, the trees, the woods, everything that you see in the forest. So that to me, it was very eye-opening, because the time where I was able to separate from myself and become conscious, or be consciousness, or just be aware of the moment, is when I realized in those moments is when God was able to come and live through me and observe and appreciate all of God's work for God itself. And in these moments, it felt like my heart was the most fullest it's ever been. And it felt like in exchange of being conscious, God was rewarding me with love. And it was just so mind-blowing. And I've never really experienced anything like this. Just to be out admiring, some of God's greatest work, because God is the greatest artist. God, when God created, God, source, energy, love, whatever you want to call, whatever presence is, awareness, consciousness, whatever has created all of this, did so without any inspiration. It did from a blind canvas. Now, you look at the rest of the artists in the world, everything else has been inspired by God's work. Like, God created the heartbreak. Somehow God gave us hearts and these feelings and emotions from a blank canvas. Can you imagine trying to create something as complex as a heartbreak, or the details that go into everything that we are able to appreciate today, like animals, like forests, like the sun, like the moon, like water, like wind, like any of it, right? So this is me finding God, or I don't want to say finding God, because I've always had God inside of me. This is me connecting to God on a deeper level. It feels like, going through that heartbreak, going through the healing. The Cendres is the rebirth, coming from the ashes and becoming whatever it is that I want to, from a fresh slate, a clean slate. And yeah, I've always loved churchy perfumes, and this is kind of like my vision of church in God's forest, in God's nature. This is an homage to the God's nature. That's what it is. And it has lots of elements of green, lots of elements of forest. It is smoky. It feels like a fire. There's moments where it feels like a forest fire. It feels like my skin is burning. It is bitter. It is ashy. It is tarry. It is leathery. It is dry. It is wet. It is balsamic. There's a little bit of sweetness. There's no bubble gum. There's no caramel. There's no cotton candy. There's none of that crap. This is all very grown-up, masculine, incensey. It's not quite as resinous. There's a little bit of resin. I don't find it nearly as resinous as La Douleur Exquise, but every bit as smoky, if not more. Claire actually called out the smokiness in her live stream. Check out Claire's live stream of the Cendres. She didn't like the Cendres, which is fair enough. I love that she didn't love it, but was able to review it authentically. Thank you so much, Claire. Beautiful review. She said it reminded her of T-Rex, the smokiness. And I would agree. There is a big Cade note. And I'd actually talked with Antoine about turning down the Cade, and he agreed it was a little bit too smoky. But he never turned it down, which is awesome. And I'm so glad he didn't, because it worked out perfect. But there was a time I was like, damn, this is super smoky. Maybe we should turn it down. But it never happened. Ramsey did a 50-minute first impression of this. Thank you, Ramsey. Brilliant. I really enjoyed that. Ramsey compares the Cendres to Devon, which I've not smelt yet, but I will look out for that. Rudy did an unboxing of this. I sent this out to a couple of the more critical YouTubers, the fragrance reviewers on YouTube, because I love the honesty. I love, that they're going to dissect it and explain it to their best of their abilities, and not everyone will like it, just like Claire, and I love that. I appreciate it. It's art, and not every art is for everybody. So I can give you some comparisons. You can ask your favorite fragrance reviewers that have smelt this. This is a It's a heavy perfume. It is a bold perfume. It's not a smooth perfume such as, let's take Cuir de Russie. When you smell Cuir de Russie, it is very soft, and I love Cuir de Russie. It is soft, it is elegant, it is subtle, it flows like very beautifully. Now, the Cendres is very completely different. There are a lot of abrasive notes in the Cendres. They're feathery. There's a lot of contrast, and this is what I think makes perfume so beautiful. There's a lot of rough textures. There's roughage. There's fibers, and it feels like there's a like contrast going this way, and it seems like the Cendres to me is a study in tension, because it feels almost like a spring. If you've ever collapsed a spring, it wants to jump out, and the more you hold it, the harder it gets, and the moment you release it, would just kind of snap back into place. And that's what the Cendres feels like to me, almost like twisting metal, if you can envision twisting metal, because I'm a tool and die maker. I work in the automotive industry. I work with steel maker. We form steel all the time. That's what we do. We cut steel, we shape steel, and there's times where we need to make certain parts. And as you're forming steel, so you take steel from a flat plate, and as you start to form it, it will start to wrinkle. And it doesn't like that wrinkling, obviously, because it's holding it in an unnatural way. And you can see the steel wants to go back to memory. So there's that tension of wrinkles. So when you draw steel up, it starts to wrinkle. And that's what this feels like to me. It just feels like there's so much tension. There's a lot going on there. It's not smooth like, let's say, Terre de Hermes, right? But it's every bit as beautifully balanced and blended as such. So it's unique in that aspect. And I found that a lot of the old school classic masculines had that great effect of tension. They weren't smooth like, take Bleu de Chanel. You see the smoothness of Bleu. Blue doesn't have that roughage of classic masculines, and that's what the Cendres has. So ask your favorite fragrance reviewers the next time you're in a live stream. Ask Rich Mitch. He won't say, but ask him anyway. See what he does. Ask him, so it is green. It is every bit as green as, say, Polo, original Polo. Ask Rich. Ask Ramsey. Ask JJ. Ask Rudy. Ask Claire. Ask whoever smelt it. Is it every bit as floral as Fahrenheit? Yes. Ask Rich. Ask Rudy. Ask JJ. Every bit as floral as Fahrenheit. Is it every bit as masculine as gray flannel? Yes, it is. Every bit as masculine as gray flannel. And it's just as brilliantly balanced as Terre de Hermes. So I know this is going to be a special perfume, and a lot of people are going to be excited for this. It is not high-pitched. It is a sharp perfume. There are a lot of sharp edges to this. There's cedar, smoke, animalic accords, those sharp cutting lines. It feels more bass-heavy. It feels more like the drums than something high-pitched. Almost like more like dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? Like a big cello or something, or piano with the big heavy bass notes. Just absolutely massive. And I can't wait. I would love to see some first impressions by people smelling this for the first time, because it is captivating, and it's going to leave a big first impression. I can't wait. I'm genuinely so excited. So January 24th, I'll do perhaps one more video and give out a little bit more information, but you guys are crazy for info and videos. Can never keep up with the content, but yeah, there you go. If you have any questions, drop them down below. I will address them in the next video. So just connecting with God, the nature of God in all of us, and allowing God to observe itself in all of its beauty, right? And rewarding us with love in return. And in those moments when I'm allowing God to live through me consciously, it's like allowing God to guide you, and God's never going to lead you astray. It's always going to guide you exactly to where you need to go. So this is me in the forest, God giving him a sermon on masculinity, and my homage to the greatest creator, the greatest artist of all time. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.